Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Yeah, I got the dog again. I got the dog because it's Saturday and another Friday came and went, and so many of you have expressed your extreme displeasure at the conspicuous absence of Fridays with Freddie. Why, oh, why do you say? Why? Why can't he be here anymore, Mike? Why? 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 I don't know. He's just taking a break. Look at him. He looks like he needs a break. You know what I mean? We could all use a break. Gonna give me a break? He's a good boy. Dreary weekend here in the city by the bay. So I've got a story I'd like to read for you. I'm going to do it forthwith, but not until I tell you that today's podcast is sponsored by MicroWorks. You remember MicroWorks, our modest little foundation. We just gave away over $600,000 in work ethic scholarships, so good for us. On the downside, the cupboards are bare, and so we're lapsing back into our perpetual fundraising efforts, which means...
Not how hard you hit it. It's how you hit it hard. If ignorance is bliss, I've got a lot of bliss.
And I've got a lot of leftover bobbleheads. $29.99. You can get them at bobbleheads.com. The proceeds go to benefit MicroWorks. So what do you think about that? A lot of people in the wake of that Donald Trump bathrobe said things like, I don't have $15,000, Mike, for your foundation.
Please just tell me what to do, and don't let me blow anything up.
And so I certainly understand that. We have all sorts of flotsam and jetsam that you can purchase.
I've seen many different kinds of terrible. This is a good one.
For a much more reasonable sum. Plus, I'm going to auction off the dog.
Not all knowledge comes from college, but skill is a matter of degree.
I'm kidding. I can't auction off the dog. He is kind of pouting, though. We had a rough experience at the veterinarian this week. We each had dental experiences. I had to have a crown forcibly pulled off what's left of my old tooth, and Fred had to have a tooth pulled. $150. Well, $150 to pull a tooth from a dog's head in the 21st century. Incredible. I'm standing there in the veterinarian's office holding him like this, like negotiating in front of 20 people. It's humiliating. The dirty jobs guys arguing over the cost of a tooth extraction, but whatever. I just thought it was kind of pricey. I said, what do you guys charge to, put a dog down? I said, what do you mean? I said, how much to put the dog down? They said, well, we charge $80 for that. I said, let's go ahead and do that. You can't joke. You can't make that kind of joke in a veterinarian's office. People jump to their feet, casting aspersions. Of course, I was kidding. We would never do that, Fred. You want to stick around for the story? All right. Today's story, actually, aside from being sponsored by MicroWorks, is inspired by some great works of literature. I've been trying to catch up on my reading, most recently with the classics. Huck Finn and Great Expectations are on my bedside table right now. And it occurred to me as I was going through there how many great protagonists in great literature are almost always orphans. Huck Finn, Harry Potter, Dorothy Gale, Daenerys Targaryen, Pip, Pollyanna, the list goes on, but it occurred to me that there is an orphan, a famous orphan that not a lot of people know about, who actually really, really did live and went on to change civilized life as we know it. This story is about that orphan. You ready for it? Fred, you ready? Sit down, be comfortable. All right, here we go. It'll be over in 5 minutes. I've had a nickel for every time I've heard that. You stay. Good boy. She was an orphan, living on the cold streets of a hard town, doing what she had to get by. Unlike most runaways, she made no attempt to resist. In fact, she greeted them with a friendly smile and regarded the government vehicle without the usual suspicion. It seemed a warm place on a cold evening, which in fact it was. So she got in. 20 minutes after she was picked up, our protagonist was enjoying a hearty meal and a warm bath, both of which she needed. Then she slept. For the first time in memory, she slumbered uninterrupted. When she finally awakened, they fed her again and brought her to the classroom, where she joined a handful of other recruits in various stages of the program. Here, the training began in earnest. To the delight of her instructors, the orphan was a natural. They described her as unusually focused and a quick study. But it wasn't her aptitude that caught their attention. No, it was her demeanor. In every challenge, she remained unflappable, seemingly immune to the stress and fatigue the program was designed to induce. Her instructors were impressed, and the training was fast-tracked. Soon it became clear she was the right candidate for the task at hand. And so the decision was made. On the big day, she was awakened before dawn and led to a small room. It was a poorly insulated and impossibly cramped room, but better than what she'd been used to. They positioned her on a drab leather cushion and told her to remain as still as possible. Wires dangling from machines were attached to her skin. Food and water were left within easy reach. Our protagonist remained calm. She asked no questions and offered nothing but that same friendly smile before the men locked the door behind them. Outside, the instructors gathered around a monitor and hoped for the best. Most recruits lasted 15 or 20 minutes before the claustrophobia became too much to bear. But she was different. Unfazed, she lay there for an hour, and then another after that, gazing calmly at the gray metal roof above her head, smiling that same curious smile. Finally, after 3 days, locked inside the cold and gloomy enclosure, the waiting ended. Buttons were pressed, switches were flipped, the rumble of unfamiliar noises filled the air. Within moments, she was hurtling through the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, entering space at 18,000 miles an hour. She was an orphan in orbit, 4,000 miles above the streets she used to wander, the first female to leave the Earth's atmosphere. Those of you who remember the very first days of the space race might recall the way the world looked to the sky and held its breath, praying for her safe return. In those days, no one knew how zero gravity would affect flesh and bone. But, thanks to the orphan called Laika, the world was about to find out. She circled the Earth 4 times in zero gravity, as the scientists far below monitored her vitals, duly recording every precious scrap of data until there was nothing left to monitor. Truth is, Laika's had always been a one-way ticket. You see, the Russians recruited an orphan from the frozen streets of Moscow because they needed a subject who could endure the cold of a poorly insulated capsule. And while Laika was without question the first female in space, she was not a woman. No, she was a 14-pound terrier mix with a friendly smile, a patient disposition, and 2 ears that bent in several directions at once. In other words, she was a dog with the right stuff. Sputnik 2 would carry her corpse another 2,566 orbits before plummeting to Earth, leaving no remains for a proper funeral. Her sacrifice, though, is still remembered by many, and if you visit the Soviet capital today, you'll see her back on the streets she once called home. There, memorialized in bronze, she stands upon a rocket and looks toward the heavens, an eternal reminder to all those on 2 legs that one small step for man was made possible by one giant leap for man's best friend. Anyway, that's the way I heard it. What do you think? You like it? He hates that story. He hates it. And who can blame him? A 14-pound terrier mix. Do you know that? Maybe you guys were related. Anyway, it's not exactly a feel-good story, but it is the way the world works, and it is the way I heard it. And this, by the way, can be yours for $29.99 at bobbleheads.com.
I think I'm on the verge of learning something.
Freddie does not like my bobblehead, by the way.
Mike Rowe here with the latest poop from Freddie. That's a key piece of information that would have come in handy 5 minutes ago.
He's actually doing a lot better than he used to. He's suspicious of it.
You think a chip on the shoulder's bad? I got one shoved up my butt.
Have a great weekend. Bobbleheads.com, $29.99. Thank you. Bye.